Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to go in depth with the 12 different ghost types of Phasmophobia. Phasmophobia has been my favorite game lately. It's been incredible to play with friends and has checked all the right boxes for an October classic. While the in-game journal offers a brief explanation of each ghost, it left me curious about some of the finer details. So today, I'll go through each ghost, one by one, and try to give you a quick overview on their history, features, and some of their recorded hauntings throughout time. Let's begin with the one most people are probably familiar with, the demon. So much could be said about demons that there isn't enough time in 100 videos to describe them. Here's how the in-game journal covers them though. A demon is one of the worst ghosts you can encounter. It has been known to attack without reason. Now, that isn't very descriptive. Demons have been prevalent throughout history from the beginning of time, a constant in every religion and in every region. In ancient Mesopotamia, it was believed that demons were residents of the underworld, an offspring of Arali. These demons could occasionally break out of the underworld to terrorize mortals. While these demons were often seen as a negative force, they could also occasionally be benevolent. Most today likely think of demons in the Abrahamic sense. Amongst Jewish scholars, there is a lot of debate surrounding their existence at all, enough that it would warrant its own video just to get through all of that. So we'll move on to Christianity. The Old Testament breaks up demonic entities into two distinct categories: satyrs, a male spirit with a goat-like appearance who served the devil as an agent of hedonism. The second class was the demon, corrupted spirits known to possess living beings, torment them, and force them into carrying out Satan's will. These beings can often be defeated via exorcism, as shown by Jesus in the New Testament. Generally, three types of beings become demons: the souls of the wicked, fallen angels, and the Nephilim, which are half-angel, half-humans who were wiped out in the Great Flood, leaving behind many angry spirits. This would explain why they're so aggressive in-game. They're basically beings of pure evil. There's been countless claims of demon hauntings throughout the years, but a recent one stands out to me, known as the Ammons haunting case, taking place in Gary, Indiana in 2011. The case would go on to capture national attention as the House of 200 Demons. The mother, Latoya Adams, and her 3 children would claim to have experienced numerous counts of paranormal activity and possessions. Her 9-year-old son would be witnessed walking backwards up a wall by a case manager, an at-home nurse, and a police officer. After several visits to the house, Gary Police Captain Charles Austin would say he was now a believer.
All of a sudden, while I'm involved in this conversation, the AM/FM radio went to static and turned up very loud, and it said, "You in there?" And the person on the phone say, "What the hell was that?" And I say, "I don't know."
The Department of Child Services would also write an 800-page report on the events, and there were 3 exorcisms carried out by a Catholic priest. The haunting would continue until the family eventually moved out, selling the house to a filmmaker who went on to create the documentary Demon House. Shortly after its release, he would demolish the home. Now, on to the next. Another well-known ghost type, the Banshee. Here's what the journal says about them. A Banshee is a natural hunter and will attack anything. It has been known to stalk its prey one at a time until making its kill. Traditionally, Banshees are an Irish legend, taking the form of a female spirit and crying out through the night, heralding the death of a family member. Often seen wearing a dark cloak over a grey dress, these ghosts are known to wander the Irish countryside, carrying out their dark mission of warning mortals of an impending loss. A Banshee famously haunts Dunluce Castle on the northeast coast of Ireland, ancestral home of the MacDonald family. The daughter of one of its many lords was set to be married, but her heart already belonged to another. The lord imprisoned her in one of the castle's turrets until she was rescued one stormy night by her true love. As the two attempted to flee by boat, they were overtaken by the waves and drowned. It is said that you can still hear her wails in the night, lamenting the death of her love and her early death. Next, we travel across the globe to the Oni, a type of yokai or Japanese spirit, often taking the form of a red ogre or troll and carrying a large iron club. Often, Oni are the spirits of fallen warriors, or the souls of the most wicked who find themselves in one of the Buddhist hells filled with rage and made nearly invincible by it, as they take their vengeance upon mortals. They serve the Buddhist lord of hell, Enma, carrying out his punishments on those who are wicked, but not wicked enough to become Oni themselves. To be in an Oni's path means certain, horrible death. It is said that the most heinous of monsters can be transformed into Oni while still living. In modern times, they can also be seen as guardian spirits, defenders of temples, and those who can ward away bad luck with their immense power and rage. They appear throughout Japanese history as an unstoppable force, rampaging their way through the countryside and slaughtering innocents. These would likely not be the kind hanging out in an American house like in Phasmophobia. Our next ghost keeps us within Japanese folklore, the Yurei. Here's what the journal says about them. A Yurei is a ghost that has returned to the physical world, usually for the purpose of revenge or hatred. This is actually probably one of the more accurate ones, and at least a little bit descriptive compared to the rest. Known as a faint spirit, these ghosts often appear as they were at the moment of their deaths, remaining in and around that same area. Their limbs often hang limp, their hair disheveled, and they move with purpose, haunting one specific area or one person, often their killer or closest loved one should they die of an accident. They remain on Earth to curse either house or person until they are made right, be it bringing their killer to justice, performing proper burial rites, or completing some unfinished task. The most famous Yurei is someone all horror fans are familiar with, Kayako Seiki, the main ghost from Ju-on the Grudge, a woman who was murdered by her jealous and paranoid boyfriend. By murdering her and hiding her body in the attic, denying her a proper burial, he created a vengeful Yurei, bound to the house she died in. Now, on to the Middle Eastern Jinn. Here's what the journal says about them. A Jinn is a territorial ghost that will attack when threatened. It's also been known to travel at a significant speed. In legend, Jinns possess magical abilities. They also live beneath the ground. Ever jealous of humanity, they often rise to the surface to spread disease, steal food, and torment children. These spiteful spirits can be tamed by sorcerers and made to perform their magics for their master. It is common in Muslim folklore to be extremely careful around Jinn, doing all that is possible not to offend them. Occasionally, a Jinn can also be benevolent, granting wishes or teaching lessons to mortals, like in Disney's Aladdin, who portrays them in a very friendly light. In the Middle Ages, Jinn were thought to be so mind-shatteringly incomprehensible that if you claimed to have seen one, you would be barred from giving any legal testimony for the rest of your life, as they were only ever able to be seen by those deemed prophets of God. Throughout Arabian history, Jinns can be seen as wicked tricksters, causing illness, tormenting villages, and inhabiting caves throughout the region. It is somewhat common to call out a warning before spreading hot water in the Middle East, lest one accidentally splash in anger a wandering Jinn. Up next, probably the most famous kind of ghost, a poltergeist. I'm sure most of us have seen the movie bearing the same name, and seen their destructive power firsthand. Some of you may even be familiar with the curse that seems to have followed the movie, with many crew members dying shortly after the movie was filmed. The movie also gained notoriety for using actual skeletons in the infamous pool scene. The lead child actress would die at the age of 12, another would be strangled to death by her boyfriend shortly after the film. While that is a crazy story, actual poltergeists are known to be much less deadly. The in-game journal describes them as such. One of the most famous ghosts, a poltergeist, also known as a noisy ghost, can manipulate objects around it to spread fear into its victims. That's actually a very good description of them, and probably the best in the entire game. Poltergeists are a global phenomenon, reported in every country on Earth, often known for being especially active, mischievous, and destructive. Poltergeists are known for their constant banging, knocks, moving items, tossing furniture. A large amount of scientific research has actually gone into poltergeists, with the prevailing theory being the naughty little girl theory, headed by physical researcher Frank Podmore, in which the majority of alleged hauntings were actually young girls within the family causing havoc for attention. Other cases have been ruled out due to air currents. One such case in Cape Cod features a house that had numerous witnesses see mirrors fly from the walls, cups be tossed around the room, and furniture overturned. Magician and skeptic Milbourne Christopher was able to determine that ocean currents were tunneling down through an uncovered chimney and causing the events which ceased shortly after the chimney was again covered. Our next ghost in the lineup is the Mare. Described as such in the journal, a mare is the source of all nightmares, making it the most powerful in the dark. Mares are a German and Slavic legend who sit on the chests of a sleeping person, causing pressure, difficulty breathing, and horrible dreams. The mare would work extremely hard during its long sit and would work up a sweat, drenching their victim, causing them to awake in a cold sweat of their own. I think it's pretty likely mares can be chalked up to sleep paralysis, as the symptoms seem about the same, with the feeling of pressure, difficulty moving and breathing, and the otherworldly dreams or visions before you. While the game has them killing you and haunting houses, I have found no record of them doing so. They seem to stick to their niche, just sitting on people's chests. Like it said in the journal, the word nightmare actually comes from the mare phenomenon. Our next ghost is a bit different, the Revenant. The journal describes them as such. A Revenant is a slow but violent ghost that will attack indiscriminately. It has been rumored to travel at a significantly high speed when hunting. From my research, it would seem that they are more like zombies than a ghost, often depicted as an animated corpse back from the grave to haunt the living. The word comes from Old French, meaning to return. Revenants also seem to be interchangeable with vampires or draugrs in Eastern Europe. The most famous story of revenants that I can find is written by the Abbot of Burton in the year 1090. Two peasants had died and were buried the same day, but later that day were seen wandering the fields alive and carrying the coffins that they were buried in upon their shoulders. The revenants then marched to the village, banging on the doors and demanding the living flee before returning to their graves. A sickness spread around the village, causing much death, until the bodies of the peasants were exhumed, decapitated, and burned, ending the sickness. Our final distinguishable ghost is the Wraith, a being from Scottish folklore. Wraiths are the souls of those about to die or who have just passed on. The in-game journal has them described as one of the most dangerous ghosts you will find. It is also the only known ghost that has the ability of flight and has sometimes been known to travel through walls. These undead creatures are often malignant and tethered to the earth until they complete some unknown task binding them. Wraiths are often unaware themselves of what needs to be done to free them, and can be tortured by their inability to move on, making them hostile and likely to lash out against those who encounter them, making them a formidable enemy in Phasmophobia. Much like the Banshee, a Wraith is known to haunt Wraith Castle in Scotland, the spirit of a scorned daughter who too tried to escape with a lover, being killed when her father cut her hands off while fleeing. Her spirit remains in the castle today, handless and searching for her lost lover. Our final spookers are the Shade, the Spirit, and the Phantom. The Shade is a type of spirit from Greek mythology. Most of the dead become shades, living in the shadow world. Only a few can escape this fate and ascend to the status of divine. Even in my digging, I can't find much to distinguish these beings other than they are dead spirits and living in the shadow of the living. They don't seem particularly aggressive or malignant, they just exist. These three seem to be catch-all terms for ghosts and don't really have defining features other than being the souls of the dead, not even necessarily still on Earth. Because they are so general, I could just tell just about any ghost story and it would still be correct. Much less interesting than those that came before. And with that, it brings us to the end of this video. The first 9 of these ghosts could, and likely do, have whole videos dedicated to just them, but I hope this sheds a whole lot more light on the history and the features of these ghosts, so that next time you can more readily document, discern, and discover the ghosts you face in Phasmophobia. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and comment below what you think. Thanks all, and I'll see you next time.